What's up? What's happening, monkeys? Hold on. What's up? What's happening, monkeys? Happy Monday. How y'all doing today? How's Monday morning going for you guys? Y'all had a busy weekend of hanging out, watching the game, hanging out with your family, running your errands, sneaking out of Big Shirley's house at 3 in the morning. Yeah, I know what y'all do. Yeah. Yeah. Do me a favor as y'all come in, hit the like button. Hit the like button and put your name in the chat, announce where you're from because as always, I like to know where my people are watching from. Yeah. Yeah. Jimmy Olive, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Yeah, where you listening from, Jimmy? See, I got my stogie here. Ready to do some consequences and repercussions babble. Yeah. We're going to talk about some things today, man. As always, there's a lot going on. So I decided to talk about consequences and reproduction. Consequences and repercussions, reproduction, man. I'm sounding like O'Shea Jackson around here. What brand is it? This is a quorum. This is my everyday smoke, man. I have my weekend smokes and I have my everyday smokes. This is a quorum Maduro. You coming from the South? Okay. All right. The South shall rise again. Yes, sir. Your number love in the South, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah. So the reason, the inspiration about um me talking about consequences and reproductions, reproduction again, man. What's going on? Okay. The reason I'm talking about consequences and repercussions is you love Maduros? Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Yeah, the reason I'm talking about this today is because, um, of course, we got my girl Fannie Willis up there. You know, with all, and to me, she is the face of um, women in power. You know, I could have used also Claudine Gay, Cori Bush, uh, Tiffany Henyard, so forth and so on. All around the country, we see that that people are doing things um, that warrant consequences and repercussions they don't want. You know, also an inspiration that is was a video by my brother Minister Jap. I know some of you all may know who he is. For those of you all who don't, look up the Minister Jap channel. Check out some of his content. He recently aired a video talking about Freaknik. Yeah, Freaknik. Back in the early 90s, I think up until 1999, Atlanta was the spot for the Freaknik gathering, which was it started off as basically um, the official word is that it started off as a gathering of young people who didn't go home for spring or summer break. They just stayed up in Atlanta at the colleges and for whatever reason. And they got together and mingled and partied and, you know, took a lot of videos and danced to music and stuff, which all of that, there's nothing wrong with that. Back in Chicago, back in the day, we had Taste Chicago. We had Caribbean Fest. We had the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Uh, you had the Bud Billiken Parade. You had the Chosen Few picnic. And you had a lot of different events where young people would come out and mingle and, meet each other and listen to music and take pictures and all kinds of stuff. And, you know, a lot of festivities would happen. Well, getting back to Freaknik, a lot of festivities happened at Freaknik, which wasn't any different than the other festivities I mentioned. But Freaknik had a lot of there was a lot of, quite frankly, lewd conduct jumping off at Freaknik. Um, I'm not going to say um, whether I was an eyewitness to a lot of that. Just just know that I was very aware of what went on. Now, I gave you all what the politically correct definition of Freaknik was, which it was that. But in truth, Freaknik was actually a gathering of LGBT um, youth in Atlanta to go out and mingle and party in the streets. That's how it started off. That's the truth about it, you know. And any place you have uh, women, you're going to attract guys. And even though it was really an LGBTQ get together, you had a lot of heterosexual young people come out there as well in order to see the sights and mingle, so forth and so on. And Freaknik, it started with maybe a couple of hundred young people, and it blew up to thousands, you know. And during Freaknik, you would have, like I said, you would have the music and stuff, and people taking videos and stuff, and you would, quite frankly, have some lewd conduct popping off. Yeah, you had a lot of you know, booty shaking, a lot of lewd dancing, a lot of touching and feeling, and a lot of open displays of affection and sexuality going on. Freaknik, it there was only a short time that passed before Freaknik got really wild, to put it bluntly, you know. Um, Jimmy says he never heard that before. Well, you're hearing it now. You're hearing it from somebody who was young during that time and who traveled a lot and who was acutely aware of all of these celebrations. It was no different than the bike weeks and Daytona spring break and Pompano Beach spring break and people going down to Miami spring break, all of that stuff. It was all pretty much the same. But what made Freaknik uh, unique, what made Freaknik stand out was that it was the lewdness of it all. Quite frankly, this was around the time that Uncle Luke Skywalker, was he was making his brand of music. And if you know anything about Luke Skywalker's music, it can get pretty lewd. Jimmy said, "Was you holding the camera?" No, man, I didn't have camera money. you know, I'm not going to say if I was a Freaknik or not, but like I said, I was acutely aware of what was going on, and there was actually a Freaknik in Chicago that I had to work, and so yeah, I was able to see some of the things that happened in Chicago. Um, Jimmy says Bike Week is wild. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Bike Week can get pretty wild. All of the bike weeks, whether you're talking Myrtle Beach, you're talking Flagler Beach, you're talking you know, really any of the bike weeks, they can get pretty wild. Bikers are a unique bunch, and they tend to be outside with whatever it is they do. I say all of that to say this: um, a lot of behavior came out of Freaknik that you know, it was young, wild, and fun back then, but now people have gotten older, have gotten established in their careers. They went and got degrees and got established in careers. They have fancy titles. They have notoriety. They have, you know, um, they have importance in society, be it corporate, be it public, be it political. Uh, you have a lot of people from that era that are now they are decision makers and they are faces of industry and faces of public policy, so forth and so on. And a lot of them wanted to put those Freaknik days behind them. The problem with that is that a lot of that stuff was on video. A lot of that stuff was documented on video. And not too long ago, last year, sometime, there was an announcement made um, via a collaboration between Uncle Luke and Jermaine Dupri, who is a um, industry legend in hip hop and black music from Atlanta. They are collaborating and bringing out a Freaknik documentary. Yeah. With the announcement of that documentary, a lot of people got real nervous. A lot of people got real concerned, real nervous because a lot of these people who have these positions of notoriety, who are in the public's eye, who are the names and faces of industry and corporations, and so forth and so on. A lot of them, well, I'm not going to say a lot, but some of them were at those Freakniks, and some of them were participating in the lewd activities of Freaknik. They participated in acts. Now it is highly possible that they're going to be dealing with the consequences and repercussions. You know, Fanny was in college around that time. Yeah. Fanny, 53 years old. She a year older than me. And guess what? She ain't the only one. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I don't know if Fanny was at Freaknik, but I'm willing to wager that she probably was at one point, at least once. And, you know, her with a lot of the Gen Xers were out there. It was outside with it. It was outside with it. Jimmy says, Jimmy Olive says, I know a few late boomers, early Gen X that love Bike Week. They put a lot of money into going. Yes, sir. That is true. You know. Um, yeah, getting back to Gen X, which was the Freaknik Gen X, which was the Freaknik generation. Excuse me. You know, it was a lot of like I said, it was a lot of people, a lot of women, and like I said, it was outside with it. It was doing a lot of stuff, shaking booty, showing stuff, doing stuff that they don't want to get out to the public. They don't want it to get out to the public. They don't want their kids to see it. They don't want to have what they did attached to them now. You know, they all got I put it behind me. The devil's in my past. Now, you know, there's a strong possibility the ugly past is going to raise its head. You know, this Freaknik documentary, the idea of it caused so much uh, panic and distress that there is an active push to block the documentary because people don't want to deal with them consequences and repercussions. Yeah, yeah. They don't want to deal with it. Scared to death. Oh my God. They're gonna show me showing they're gonna show me showing my booty and God knows what else. There's an effort to spin it to where these women were pressured and harassed into participating in certain acts and certain displays, and that if anything, the men were complicit in sex crimes. In some cases, that may be true. I'm not doubting that in some cases that may have happened because when you have events like that and you have what was going on in events like that, you had people that would take things too far. You had you know, men and women that would take things too far. That being said, the vast majority of conduct that went on was a choice. It was voluntary. It was it was something that was intentionally done, and you know this because there are not police reports about violations of a criminal sexual nature. So Jimmy says, what are the repercussions? The repercussions are number one, socially. You know, if you have become for a lot of these people, they are now members of churches and different things, and more probably members of churches and so forth. You know, back in the day and now, and you know, they have constructed a uh, a reputation and public image that they wouldn't do stuff like that. The repercussions is that the truth about what they were doing is revealed, and people got to look at them with the side eye. You know, hey, I saw you on that video, Francine. I saw you. I saw you on that video, Benita. Yeah, you know, and it's not just women, it's men. You know, Lil Larry was down there. You know, doing all kinds of stuff. There's a photograph where Atlanta City police officers were taking a picture where they had their hands on the lower back anatomy of a young female during that time. You know, she was you know, bent over and, you know, holding on to the car doors in a pose, and you had, you know, a couple of police officers with their hands on a young woman's butt. Something like that could cost you your job because that is a conduct that could potentially be a conduct unbecoming charge. You know, extended clips. What up, bro? How you feeling, man? Good to have you here, Angry Snowman. What up, bro? Yeah, glad to have you here, man. I was listening in the clouds to your live stream the other night about TikTok intellectuals. Good stuff. Hey, if y'all ain't subscribed to my man Angry Snowman, check out his content. And if you like it, subscribe. Yeah, yeah. So you know that getting back to what I was talking about, that is one of the consequence and repercussions. Um Next would be, you know, people in relationships, you know, they have constructed a persona and reputation of being more or less upstanding people, and their spouses, you know, who may not have been there, may be under the impression that, you know, my my John, or you know, my my Phil, or my Keisha, my Brenda, wouldn't be participating in stuff like that. You know, that's not that kind of person. Then you see them on that video, and you see, if they participated in some of that raunchy behavior, you're like, whoa, what's this? Yeah, yeah. So you got that going, you got that. You have people that you know that have certain jobs, certain with certain titles and stuff. Corporations and businesses and institutions, they want the members employed and representing them to have certain, upstanding citizen type reputations and personas, so forth, so on. And then when something like that pops up, it's like, whoa, what was you out there doing in college? Now, I'll say this, and this really lends itself to my thoughts about college, especially for women, is that, college is supposed to be the place. College and university is supposed to be the place young people learn how to, number one, think, and learn how to either become business owners or employees for in their prospective fields, in their respective fields, um, and these companies in their mission statements and in their policies and so forth and so on, they want what they consider upright and trustworthy people, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, and what a documentary like Freaknik and some of these other stuffs that would show that, hey, you got a wild one working. You got a wild one representing your company. It would be no different than if you found out, if you had a police department, you city has a police department, and you hire these officers because you feel like they are as upstanding people as you can find. You find out they was out there gang banging at one point. That's, people tend to frown on that. It is what it is. Now, I'm not saying that people who attended these events participated in in the activities. For the most part, for a lot of this stuff, people tend not to participate in the lewd conduct. But a lot of times being there could be a problem. Simply being there could be a problem, depending on uh, depending on the perception of the observer. You know, um, a lot of what was recorded could be weaponized. You have somebody that you're either competing with a job or position against, and you find out they was at Freaknik slapping booties. You know that if there's video of it, that could be used against them. You know, Jimmy Olive says, "I don't think it would end the marriage. It may tip it over, though." Jimmy, I would disagree. Um, Now, not in all cases. I don't think it would necessarily end in all cases, but it would definitely cause some problems and some tough discussions. You know, it would definitely cause some issues, especially depending on what's going on in that relationship in current times. A big complaint that a lot of married men have is that their wives pretty much turned off their sexuality in a marriage, and they wonder what happened, or this woman gives the impression that she was a church girl, and then something like Freaknik comes out, and you see her out there twerking and shaking ass, and got guys grabbing on her, and different stuff, participating in lewd acts. You're gonna be like, well, what's the problem? Why that then, and this now? you know yeah, man. Yeah. you know I can definitely see that a point of a difficult discussion. Amy Snowman says it would make the discussion at the dinner table a little difficult for sure. Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You know, think about this. What if you find out your church pastor was there at Freaknik, and he was grinding all up on girls, and he was smacking buttocks and all kinds of stuff, or even worse. How would you look at your pastor from the from that point forward? How would you look at him? You know, consequences and repercussions, man. You know, Angry says, "Bro, I got that same electric pellet smoker you got behind you. Only difference is mine is blue." Actually, that is not a pellet smoker. It is a gas smoker. But you can put wood chips in there to get the smoke. Your heat comes from gas, but the smoke comes from wood chips. So. But yeah, man, that's a nice smoker, man. I like to smoke brisket and chickens and stuff like that, man. I love my barbecue. Yeah. Jimmy says, "Praise the Lord." Yeah, man. Your girl, somebody somebody you're close to, you're in a relationship with. They try to come across as being upstanding and pious and all, and then you find this out about them.
I'm a bitch from the streets. I get the money. I get that money. Bitch, give me what you got.
Yeah. You find out, oh, this bitch ain't shit. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. Snowman says he likes smoking turkeys in my smoke. Yeah, man. I like smoking turkeys. I like frying turkeys. I like all of that. Yeah, man. But getting back to what I was saying, yeah, you find out your girl was out there. She was for the streets. Man, that is you know, that can be painful. That can be painful. That can be upsetting, to say the least. Especially if this is something, it would be different if This is something that you and your your spouse or the person you're in a relationship, you all discussed beforehand and you all resolved it and said, hey, the past was the past. I don't care about none of that. I care about is uh what we do now. That's one thing. And then if something comes out like that, it's like, okay, all right, yeah, I already knew you was out there for the streets back then, you know. But so long as you're not for the streets now, that's one thing. But if a person has passed themselves off as you know, not being about that life and never being about that life, and then you find out they was about that life in the worst way, you know, it can cause some funny feelings. You're gonna feel some type of way. Jimmy Olive says, I would think there would have been signs. Yeah, that could be the case, That could be the case. But at the same time, some people um really, they do a 180 and they are no longer about that life or some people put up a good facade. It is what it is. All of that is true. What you said is true and what I said is true. So yeah, yeah. So Jimmy says that shit will make you go numb. Yeah, it can. It definitely can, especially if this person passed themselves off as not being that way. Yeah, it can make you go numb. It'll definitely cause trust issues. If there weren't trust issues before, it would definitely cause trust issues. And if there was trust issues, it could aggravate the trust issues that were already there. Angry says it would be effed up to find out because you saw her in the documentary all on a Boss Mustang, all on the Boss Mustang hood, the knuckleback getting slaughtered out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'll definitely be messed up. You know, um, and this is what the people who are opposing the the premiere of the documentary, this is where a lot of their objection comes from. They don't. They you had people out there doing some messed up stuff, man, and for the stuff I've seen, yeah, I made you choke on a cigar when you read my comment. I said, yeah, man, yeah. So yeah, yeah. You know, um, the funny thing is, man, with a lot of the women down there, a lot of them are your sorority girls who are now in positions of power, who are now, you know, um, they are the face of organizations and institutions, and now that video come out, and if they show up, they're gonna be like, "Hey, Tamika, I saw you," you know, or they people might not say nothing, but give them that look. Yeah, I know what you be doing. you know, yeah, man. So, consequences and repercussions. And this really extends beyond Freaknik. That's just one example. You have now, you have you got the different social media platforms, and different people have these shows where they do relationship talks and confessionals and stuff. And you got a lot of people putting out a lot of information that they probably should have kept to yourself. Shout out to my brother Fantastic. Fantastic just did a show about an hour ago, and he was talking about uh, some of the shenanigans, the sexual shenanigans that women participate in, and on that show, There was a couple. There was a panel. There was a more or less like a panel discussion with young women telling the stories of their sexual escapades. And one young woman was talking about an encounter she had with a guy and his mother. Yep, I said it. It was a guy and his mother. Now, I don't have the video because um I don't feel like, you know, going through the whole video to find the uh the timestamps um of what the girl was talking about on the fantastic video. Um and I'm just lazy, so I'm not gonna do it. But yeah, man, it was she was telling the story, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, this is something you should have kept to yourself. So you have an encounter that wild. I mean, some stuff is better unsaid. you know, I mean, you don't. It's like what these rappers do. They, nowadays, especially these drill rappers, they go out and pull a drill which is you know, a violent crime, and then they come back and make a rap about it, telling on themselves, time stamping and confessing their fuckery. You know, some stuff don't need to be said. Some stuff don't need to be said. Hey, some stuff, hey, you do it in the dark, you need to leave it in the dark for as long as possible. Let time take care of it. Don't help the process of revealing it. Don't help the process alone, you know. And so Snowman says a lick. Yeah, pretty much. Well, a lick would be more like a robbery. A drill is like violence. A drill is much more violent than a lick. It's like the next level of violence, in my opinion. You know, so yeah, man. This thing where people are doing these tell-alls, man. It's like, hey, you might want to be quiet. You might want to shut up. There people go on the Vlad show. They go on 21 Jumper. Uh, they go on the whatever podcast. They go on these different podcasts and they tell everything. Oh my God! Next thing you know, the FBI is showing up. FBI is showing up either at the show or at your house. Talking about, come on, you going with us? You going to jail? You know. But yeah, man. I've said this before, and this was pretty much it's pretty much a long-standing belief of mine that everybody wants to tell their story, and everybody snitches. Everybody tells. Everybody wants to call other people to the front of the congregation. Shout out to Anton Daniels. Everybody wants to tell something. They want they want to tell their stories, you know. And man, there's no such thing as stop snitching or don't snitch. Yeah, yeah. People be snitching, man. They snitch on themselves. They snitch on each other. Everybody want to tell something. People be wanting to talk, man. It's all a matter of getting them to talk. You know, it is what it is. You know, Angry says, Vlad be keeping people hemmed up for the crimes is crazy and hilarious at the same time. Yes, it is. It is hilarious, man. Extended Clip says, the era of attention and clout. Bars. Exactly. Jimmy Olive says, nah, we need to hear those sick ass stories. They're funny and not mind blowing. Hey, that they are. I agree. Yes, sir, man. Hey, extended clips. Oh, terrestrial, testimonial terrestrials. I like that one, man. Yeah, yeah. Hey, you right about that, bro. Hey, man, they, you know, that is bars. That is the perfect way to describe the people that go on these platforms and tell all that business. Social media was in my opinion, was the best and the worst thing that happened to Americans. You know, you've had people say it, oh, well, it's the best, it's the worst thing that happened to black people. Um, yeah, but it's the best thing too. Um, it just for Americans, for U.S. citizens in general, it's the best and the worst thing that happened. Number one, if you have any preconceptions that people aren't above certain ridiculous, heinous, or out of ordinary acts, social media will show you different. Somebody is always live streaming some craziness. You had years ago, you had a young white girl killing puppies, man. She was drowning puppies. You know, you would think, the stereotype is that white women love animals and that, they love animals more than people, and and you had this chick drowning puppies. She put them in a potato sack and threw them in the river. Horrible. You had, I've seen videos of girls stomping puppies, stuff like that, and doing other horrible acts. And, that for somebody that doesn't believe that can happen, it will definitely wake them up. You've had videos of people being confronted about you know, committing sex crimes against others, and like family members and stuff. Uh, you know, that stuff all on social media. You got people doing amateur prawn. You can't say the real word. So amateur exhibitions of a sexual nature. That stuff be all on social media. You got people you know pulling robberies and stuff. I've seen drive-by shootings, just all kinds of any kind of depravity you can think of that people could and would do, or that you think that they wouldn't do. There's a video somewhere on social media somewhere. The internet is forever. Like they say, the internet is forever. So, so yeah, if you have any, if you believe in the better nature of humans, social media will ruin that. Absolutely, it will absolutely ruin that. Yeah, that's why I've always been the type person to say, hey, I try to be as neutral as possible when it comes to human nature and the stuff that people do, because I myself have seen a lot, either in person or on the internet, and you know, I don't know if it's being jaded, but um, I tend not to put anything past people. It is what it is. So, yeah. Hey, if you haven't hit that like button, do me a favor, hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. This stuff would going back to my favorite DA, Fonnie Willis, uh, you know, you have a lot of people that think women aren't above being home wreckers and getting into um, adulterous situations, which I think is stupid. You know, because for men to cheat on their wives, you know, most men are heterosexual when they do it with women, and I am of the mindset. Don't think that the women on the other side of that stuff, don't think that they don't know. They know. They know. Yeah, they do. They know, and many, if not most of them, go in with full intentions of doing what they're doing. You know, um, we're learning that women in power, they're just as corruptible as men in power, and they do. a lot of the same stuff that they rallied against on the social political spectrum. You know, oh, this workplace sexual harassment and stuff. That was just a show that Anton Daniels did um, a day or two ago, where a woman more or less pressured a subordinate employee of hers into a sexual affair. And when the guy said he no longer wanted to be involved, she fired him. And it resulted in him receiving $1 million award from the court for basically sexual harassment. You know, this happens. I told the story before about when I was working for Helene Curtis as a young man, and a guy told me how to, I wanted to get there full time. And the guy told me I had how to do that. He told me I needed $400 and I needed to go. I needed to. He told me that the woman that could help me get that job, I needed to have 400 set aside $400, and I needed to eat a box lunch. I needed to eat a box lunch. I needed to eat a box lunch prepared by her, if y'all know where I'm going, in order for her to make sure I got that job. And like I said, like I told when I told you guys before, he told me, and I was like, "What? Ah, no, man." And then, a few days later, the woman approached me, and that's what it was. That's what it was. She was like, "Hey, you really want this job, you know?" She came at me like Nate from Set It Off. She was like, she thought I was in a bind. She was like, "Hey, you want this job? It's gonna cost you $400, and you need to come visit me at my house." You know, and I already knew what the rest was involved. I was like, whoa, okay. I was like, she told me that, and I said, you know what, I'll think about it. And she was like, well, don't take too long. And you know, I subsequently refused, and that assignment ended for me. I was working for a temp company at that time, and since I didn't go through with the request, I ended up, being reassigned at another company. You know, Extended Clip says that's wild. Every man catches what he eats. Jimmy Olive says damn, and he no, that's Extended Clips. He says damn. Jimmy Olive says that's nuts. Jimmy Olive says I've heard those stories before. Yeah, man. Yeah. I used to work at another place, man. I used to work at the jail, and there was a female supervisor there who you know, she she was carrying on having you know, an affair with a guy, ended up having a baby by him, and most people was like, man, we wonder who she had that baby by. And I knew who she had the baby by because, bro was he was one of my bros, and he told me, hey, that's my baby. And I was like, whoa. And I know of a case where there's a woman who I don't know if she still works for county government, but what she would do if she liked the guy, she would get with him, and she only messed with employees. If she liked the guy, she'd get with him, she'd get him promoted and put in positions that made a lot of money. She would get knocked up, and then she would hit him up for child support. And she did 5 guys like this. No bullshit. She did 5 different guys like this. And she was raking in the child support. She was hustling. She was womb hustling, man. Jimmy Olive says, you need 400 and you got to work? That's too much. Yeah, bro. Yeah, you had to eat the box lunch, and when old boy told me that, I looked at him and I said, "That's how you got the job." I already knew what it was. I already knew what it was. Extended Clip says that's a cold hustle. Yes, it was, bro. It was. It was. You know. Um. In fact, at that job, I had a higher up. She had taken a liking to me, and I was married at the time. I was newly married, and she had taken um a fancy towards me, and she would try to do stuff like get her get me alone with her, and I wasn't going and stuff, and you know I wasn't cooperating, and she ended up getting me moved because we had a bit of an argument about her advances, and so in order to she went on the offensive because she knew the system and I was young and naive. Because I wasn't um, complicit in what she wanted to do, she ended up getting me transferred to another spot that was another spot and another shift that was messed up. Thing about it was um, I couldn't prove that I was put in this position. And I'm telling you guys all of this. Back when I was a young guy, for those of you all like Mike Reed, who knows me from the real world and knew me back in the era that I'm talking about, I was a young, fit guy. You know, standing, 5'11". Uh, I had like 7% body fat. I had an 8 pack. I had an 8 pack, and I must say, I was a pretty good looking young man back then, and you know, I was fresh meat because I was a new employee. I was fresh meat to all these older women in their late 30s and 40s and 50s. They looked at me as new meat, you know, and unlike some of the other guys, I wasn't going, man. I loved my wife. Had just had my son. I I wanted to be a good family man. And they didn't like that because that particular um place of employment was basically a sexual playground for women. And this was when I was working in the jail, you know, to be to be forthcoming. I was working in the jail, and I tell you, female correctional officers, not all of them, but it's a lot of horrible women working in corrections. They're sleeping with the officers and the inmates and the visitors and all of that. They're just doing a whole lot of stuff, and a lot of them. When you see a lot of the women, especially the younger ones, who are in very coveted high positions, they slept their way to the top, straight up, straight up. Blexit the community. This is very off topic. Please forgive me, but was Talaferio your sergeant when you were working for the 25th? I wasn't working for the 25th. I was assigned for the 25th. I didn't work for CPD, Blexit, but I know Talaferro. I know Taliaferro. Me and him go back. Me and Taliaferro worked in the jail. If this is the same Taliaferro I'm thinking of, because he did run for politics, and I do believe he became an alderman. Um, I I do believe we are talking about the same person. I know him. He's a good guy, man. He's a good guy to me. I don't know what your relationship is, but I did work with a guy, Taliaferro, and you know, back when I was in the jail, we worked together briefly, and I believe that's either him or one of his relatives. Um, I am familiar with that last name because when you see that last name and you see the people attached it to, it's once you know them, you always know them because that name, it is not an ADOS name. These are you know these are black guys with that name Taliaferro. So yeah, yeah, that's probably him. But yeah, I don't have an issue with him, but and like I said, we worked together briefly. He wasn't a sergeant. When I was working with him, like I said, we worked in the jail, and he actually came in after I started the job. So we worked together like maybe 6 months or so. But yeah, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Um, yeah. Angry said that's Angry Snowman said that's facts. Blexer says I have and used to be able to call. Okay. Yeah, yeah. It happens, man. You know what time it is in Chicago, Blexit. I mean, Democrats run that, and there's a Democratic machine. It's like a mafia, man. It is what it is. If you coming from the opposite side, which is why I never got promoted because I didn't play the game, so I understand where you're coming from. You know, and unfortunately, that's what happens. You know, um, if you ain't on that team, if you ain't for them, you're against them, and that's how they treat you. You know, especially in the workplace. If you're gonna work in county government, if you're gonna work in Chicago government and stuff, you got to be a Democrat. It is what it is. And politically, even on the political side, if you are of the opposite party, you are the enemy to them for real, and they will marginalize you and so forth and so on. It is what it is. Consequences and repercussions. It's a consequence. You choose the opposite side, they're gonna treat you like the ops. You know. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, man. But consequences and repercussions. We're going to see a lot of women in power get exposed for doing the stuff that they complain men in power have been doing for years. And my thing is like y'all wanted all that power so y'all can be on bullshit too, huh? Y'all ain't no better. you know, the funny thing about it is I knew a young lady that she moved up in the department real quick, and she had high profile positions and everything, and she was a looker, and we knew who she was attached to. If you sat back and watched, paid attention, you could see that. Okay, all right, you knew what time it was. She got old. She got old and she stopped moving. She got old and they had her doing some old goofy rinky dink job because somebody younger and prettier came in that was younger, prettier, and more the new toy came in, and she got replaced, and she was bitter and salty after that. And I was like, hey, when you use your sexuality to advance, that's one of the things that happens. So you need to get in and get out as fast as you can. Now you sticking around, looking like basically leftovers. Messed it. Blexit Blexit, the community says most of the cops over here vote Republican, though, and Taliaferro lives in the most conservative part of the ward, west of Harlem, in the Belmont Heights area neighborhood on one of those old streets. Yeah, to speak to what Blexit is talking about, and this is why this is a whole. This is another point of my, you know, of my disagreement with that term conservative, because a large number of public safety workers and city workers in Chicago, particularly among the white Irish males, they have conservative values. They are basically, uh, they're basically conservatives and Republicans, but they vote Democrat because you vote your check, you vote your paycheck, you vote your wallet, and so they deal with Democrats, they vote Democratic, but they are basically they're Dinos, they're uh, Democrats in name only. Other outside of that, they are conservatives. They're blue dogs. The term for that is a blue dog Democrat. Blexit says if Taliaferro hates conservatives, then he is literally in the wrong neighborhood and he needs to move south to South Austin or something. Even over there, even over here in Galewood, is half Democrat and half Republican. He's not gonna move over there because he's safer over there with them Republicans. We know that. We know what time it is, Blexit. We know what time it is. He's safer over there, especially with his position and notoriety. He understands that it is safer. you know, he knows exactly what he's doing and what time it is. Yeah. So let me get back to this topic, man. But as I said before, you're gonna see a lot of stuff being revealed. Um, Documentaries uh like the Freaknik documentary, with what's going on because of a lot of the black female political machine support for the Palestinians. They're going to pay a price for that, consequences and repercussions. And we've already seen it with Claudine Gay. Um, you're going to see more of that, that a lot of them are going to be exposed for different things. Like Claudine Gay was exposed for cheating her way through college, cheating her way through university, um, with over 50 instances of plagiarism. You know, had she not had she told the line, we wouldn't have heard anything about this. It would be highly unlikely, and anything that would have came out would have pretty much got buried. But she bit the hand that feeds her, and they exposed her. You're going to see a lot more. Fannie Willis is being exposed. Um, that representative out there in Baltimore, her last name is Maury. She's being exposed for PPP fraud. She might have got sentenced. You know, um, you're going Tiffany Henyard. She's been exposed for all her nonsense. Consequences of stepping on the wrong toes, of consequences of biting the hand that feeds them. Consequences of bad behavior. You're going to see a lot of that, and you're going to see it's going to all be framed under we're under attack because we're black women. No, you're under attack because you you know, out here doing stuff you got no business doing. You can't expose something that didn't happen. you know, that's straight up. Quite frankly, you cannot expose something that didn't happen. And these women have been exposing men for years for doing stuff that these women felt were wrong. It's your turn, sis. It's your turn. It's your turn. Straight up. It is what it is. It's not just the women, you know. it's men will continue to be exposed when they mess up, and it's not just them. It's the it's the LGBTQ gang. Look at old boy here in Florida that got exposed for getting rotted out. He was running for governor um, during that the first time DeSantis got elected. He was running against DeSantis, and he got exposed for liking that booger sugar and being a power bottom. you know, so yeah. So you know, everybody's gonna get exposed, man. If you messing up even a little bit, you're gonna get exposed. You know, it is what it is. I keep, man, we keep talking about this, man. Me and extended clips. The era of the great revealing, where the cover gonna get snatched off of everybody. You out here messing up, they're gonna be at you. Blexit says Tiffany Henyard has been exposed by Tia Ewing in some baby mama drama mess. I don't doubt it. I gotta check that story out. Hey, hey, Blexit, if you got a link, put it in the chat for me. You got a link to that, put it in the chat. Tia Ewing is trying to ruin Tiffany Henyard's reputation so that her husband can win with her child custody battle. Hey, when people out there, you do something wrong, your enemies, if they know about it, they're gonna try to weaponize it against you, and that's what's happening with Tiffany Henyard. And Tiffany Henyard has made a lot of enemies. But going back to something I talked about a few days ago, with the D pics, this is why I tell you guys, hey, don't be doing that. What is considered messing up? Doing stuff that that you know is wrong, or that even if you don't know for sure is wrong, if you're doing something you probably shouldn't be doing, if you got to second guess it, you probably shouldn't do it. Because if you do it and it's unethical or illegal, so forth and so on, then that would be considered messing up. And that's not to say that people aren't prone to mistakes. People are. It could be either doing something or not doing something due to oversight, or just inaccurately assessing the information given to you at the time, or something like that. I mean, could be messing up. Now, all mess ups aren't career or reputation ending. Um, and if it is an honest mistake, that's one thing. If it is intentional, then that's a whole nother problem. That's a different problem. You know, that's a yeah, yeah, man. Man, like I said, people, man, everybody's prone to make mistakes. And that it is what it is, and you know whether they're intentional or not depends on the person and the situation and stuff. You know, um, but at the same time, I if you mess up something, you know, um, if it was unintentional, explain what happened, and hope for the best but expect the worst. If it was intentional, man, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You just sent it to my inbox. Hey, salute, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah. So did you send it on Facebook so I can know what it looked? Um, but yeah, man. Stuff happens, and people, people are people, man. They make mistakes, and like I said, if it's an honest mistake, man, hopefully it's not something that's too damaging, you know. And but if it's intentional, then you got to pay the piper, man. It is what it is. And then even sometimes, even when it's intentional, man, if you made a mistake or a misgiving, hopefully you're giving you're given the opportunity to correct it or at least give context, you know, and hopefully the people understand, especially if it's legitimate. You know, a lot of times make people do stuff out of pressure and adversity that they wouldn't otherwise do, or um, because it's something that they got bullied and the thing about it is they can't explain effectively what happened to them, man. Especially in these workplaces, man. You have you know like Blexit was talking about the alderman, that him and the alderman don't fuck with each other. Now, just imagine if Blexit worked in the place with work somewhere with this alderman, and Blexit having his political views and position, which are opposed to that alderman's views and position, and that alderman did everything to kind of mess up Blexit's time. I mean, yeah, Blexit's time at work, put harassed him with different just a whole lot of frivolous bullshit stuff. And I say this because I've seen it happen to several people. And thing about it is, you Blexit quit the job and he tried to go somewhere else and get work. And then, he got to try to, they asked him, hey, did, you ever been written up or something? Ever been disciplined at work? And Blexit and everybody around him at that place knew that it was unfair, knew that he was targeted. But because he's a man, and it's a lot harder to prove harassment through policy than it is, than it's hard. It's harder than to prove like sexual harassment. He got to explain, hey, yeah, I got targeted by these employers for my political views. A lot of these people at the places he's trying to get hired at, they don't give a shit about that. They don't give a shit about black society. And they're not going to call Taliaferro, say, hey, were you harassing this guy? Did you target this guy because you didn't like him for whatever reason? They're not going to ask that question, even though that may be the truth. That may be what happened. And even if they did, Taliaferro is not going to say, yeah, I fucked with him because I didn't like him because he was a Republican and I'm a Democrat. He's not going to say that. Blex is gonna have to wear that. Unfortunately, he's gonna have to wear that jacket, you know, for the rest of his life. There's no way to, unless somebody else says, no, they was fucking with that guy for no reason. They was harassing him with all kinds of shit, and they made his life a nightmare. Unless Blexit has people that can say that and speak on his behalf, that's just, he's just gonna have to wear that, and that happens. It happened to it happened to uh 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 it happened to my boss. It happened to me. It happened to me with that female supervisor. It happened to me with another female that I was working that I had an issue with. She was hooked up with Mike Madigan, who's in jail now. She was one of Madigan's workers, and we got into an argument about her behavior, and I reported it. But I was the one that got in trouble because of she had the clout. I didn't have the clout. She had the clout. I didn't have the clout. I got into trouble and had to pay a price for being a whistleblower. And this is what happens with whistleblowers. And in fact, this happened at the Fulton County DA's office. Um, um, with the girl that Bonnie Willis fired. You know, and people outside, people on the outside often they don't know, if you're not from Chicago, for example, if you're not from Chicago, you might not understand what goes on in a place like Chicago. If you're not from Fulton County, you're not going to understand what happens um, in Fulton County. Blexer says leadership needs to be black female leadership needs to be replaced by Republicans. Uh, that's if the Republicans are going to do the right thing, because you had some dirty Republicans as well. I was hired under O'Grady when I was working. I was a I came in under O'Grady, who was a Republican, and O'Grady was selling badges left and right. Everybody had a badge. The paper boy had a badge. Plumbers had a badge. Former felons had badges. Everybody had a badge under O'Grady. So, and he was a Republican. So being a Republican don't mean anything when it comes to corruption. When it comes to doing the right or wrong thing, your political party has nothing to do with that. Right is right, wrong is wrong. You know. Blexit says Chicago Democrat Party is literally a cult. Facts. Facts. Blexit says Mike Madigan is a modern day Northern Dixiecrat. Yes, he is, and now he is a. Did they sentence Mike Madigan? Did he get convicted and sentenced? That's why his daughter couldn't run for re-election as a state attorney. And Blexit, I'm gonna tell you, all them people that worked in Cook County government, that all them white boys that had all of them crazy domestic charges and sexual harassment charges and stuff. When Mike Madigan got charged and was ran out of office, when he got charged, all of them white boys wound up losing their jobs. All of them cases were sustained. They wound up losing their jobs. Two of those white boys were chiefs of police at my department. They wound up losing them jobs. The one that was sending D pics to the female staff in his office, uh, he lost his job after they had their case open for 8 years. They had his case open for 8 years. They was just trying to, because this is the thing with county government and the office of OPR and stuff like that, police oversight and stuff. Um, this is what they would do. If they didn't like you, if you like you're a black Republican, Brexit, if they found it out and they didn't like you and you were on a promotion list, they would give you a case. They would open up a case. Wouldn't charge you anything. They did just open it up and leave it open. And they could use that to keep from promoting you. That's what they do. They file, and this is why I am opposed to uh filing anonymous complaints, um, and stuff like that, because the administration that doesn't like you, and I've seen it done. I've seen it done. It happened to me. I'm retired and now I can talk about it. It happened to me. Every time I would take a promotion exam, get on the promotion list, right when they start doing promotion interviews, they'd open up a case. Sometimes you would know about it, sometimes they wouldn't. And it would be a bullshit case. It would be it because they would take anything and they would open up a case. Such and such, uh, you know, uh, such and such was rude to somebody, and they'd open up a case. And they'd leave it open for years. They'd leave it open for years. They'd interview you once, and then they'd leave it open for years. What they would do, they leave it open for years, and lots of times, or what they would do, the standard was they leave it open until after the promotions, and then like maybe 3-4 months after the promotions, they dismiss the case. They got you out of the way so you can't get promoted, so they can get their guys promoted. Not only that, They hide the test scores, or you would go in for an interview, and they would, you know, the people on the panel, they already know who they want to promote. You would come in and you would interview better than their people. They would give their people top scores and give you minimal scores so that they can get their people in. They're protected by legislation and policy. You know, they did that to my former commander. This guy was great police. He did not get along with the two chiefs that ended up having to resign the job. They gave him bullshit cases. They scored him low on the promotion list. All kinds of stuff. They did all kinds of stuff to keep from promoting him. After Madigan went down and they had to resign, they had to promote my boy. Jimmy Olive says that would be a hell of a Netflix story. Jimmy, I'm thinking about writing a book, man. I'm thinking about writing a book on all of the stuff I saw and went through, man. Because um, people outside of Chicago, people outside of county government, people outside of city of Chicago government, they don't know that this stuff happens. You know, um, and you best believe it, and it's not just there. That's how Claudine Gay got promoted. That's how Claudine Gay became the president of Harvard. You can't tell me they didn't know about the plagiarism beforehand, but she had the clout at the time. She had the clout until she didn't have the clout. They knew about all that stuff. They didn't care until she went against the grain. Then they weaponized what they knew about her. They weaponized it against 50 instances of plagiarism. Come on, man. Come on. One or two, I can see, okay, oversight, mistakes, what have you. I can see that. 50? No. No, you can't see 50. It is what it is. Jimmy Blexit, the community says Lisa Madigan defunded the police by putting that consent decree on CPD. We got to wait until Trump gets back in office to remove it. Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, Chicago, Cook County, everything in Cook County, you actually need outsiders to come in and fix all of that mess, man. Um, you know, but even with that, the consequences and repercussions would be devastating to county government. You know, it would be devastating, man. You know, yeah. Jimmy says, sounds wild, man. I'm telling you, Jimmy, I'm seriously considering writing a book of all of the stuff that I saw. That one chief that I was talking about that was sending out the D pics. He When he was a patrolman, he caused an accident chasing a car for traffic that wound up uh uh killing a family. Yeah, but his dad was a judge and his dad was connected with Madigan, and guess what? It got buried. It got buried. A lot of stuff, man. Um, we had guys that were chiefs of police that were involved in basically um putting together a bogus case against the Ford Heights Four. Everybody talk about the Central Park Five. when you get a chance, look up the Ford Heights Four. All of them guys became like commanders and chiefs and stuff, even though they falsified that case and um they wrongly charged those guys. Damn, when it's that bad, Jimmy Olive says, damn, when it's that bad, the Bears will never get to. Yeah, man. It's so much corruption with that stuff, you know. And it's like, you once you start seeing it, you got to make a choice. Either keep your head down, um, and power through it until you can do better. You could quit, or you can do like Blexit and stand up against it and deal with the consequences and repercussions of going against the grain. It is what it is, you know. Mike Reed says Lisa Madigan or the father. Um, the father, Mike Madigan, got charged. I'm trying to find out if he got convicted because or even if the trial is still going. He was very corrupt, man, and he was like a gangster. He was like a mob boss. I tell people who aren't from Chicago that the new outfit, and if you from Chicago, you know what the outfit is. The new outfit is all politicians. It's all politicians and lawyers. All them days and them guys like you know, yeah, yeah. The outfit is still there, Mike Reed, but it's all politicians and lawyers and stuff now. It's still there. It's still there. It's still very much is there, you know. And you know, they they are now smarter in covering up their corruption. You know, all of that stuff that's going on with all of that COVID money that mysteriously disappeared for the Cook County Jail. It came out in the news a little bit and then it went away. And this was like $34 million. 34 million. They jagged off $34 million. Blexit, the community says, I live in former Chicago outfit territory. Facts. Yes, sir. That area over there is former Chicago outfit territory. They're still over there. They're still over there. But they all got legitimate businesses now. They're still over there. Jimmy Allen says it seems like it's affecting football. Justin Fields needs an O line. Why have they not built one for him? That's because Chicago sports franchises are cheap, and you know it's like dealing with the Democrats. If you if you know you have a dedicated base that are going to spend money and support no matter what, you don't have to do anything for them. You know, they the the games are packed and stuff. They don't need to do they're already in a position where the machine runs itself and they can do the bare minimum and stay wealthy. So that's what you got going on with Chicago teams. They don't care if they never win another Super Bowl, World Series, NBA championship, nothing. They don't care about none of that because the machine is running itself. It's doing what it's supposed to do, and that's to make money. Money is the bottom line. They don't care about no championships and stuff because then they would have to play. They would have to pay star players, and they really don't want to do that. You know, they're doing just enough to keep the money coming in. So Blexer says they're in the western part of Galewood between Oak Park Avenue and Harlem. My precinct captain was related to an Italian mob dude. Blexit, I used to live over by Al Capone's house. One of his houses over there, that house on Midway Park. I used to live over by there. Yeah, over there in the Austin area. That Al Capone had a house over there. I used to live a block over from that house. Yeah, man. So, but ending this, we're going to see a lot more. You're gonna see a lot more people get exposed. You know, you'll see a lot more women in political and industry power get exposed for a whole lot of stuff. It's going to happen. You know, extended clips. You know, he's been here and you know he got some terms for. I got some terms for. We're going to see a lot, and I am here for the ride. I'm going to report on different cases as I see fit to talk about, or if you guys want to talk about it, we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna try to make for a hell of a show. On that note, I'm gonna close. I'm gonna shut this live stream down. This is Royce J. Royce Media. Like, share, and subscribe. Get in the comment section. I appreciate everybody for coming in, for stopping in. Hopefully, you guys will show up for the next time I go live. Um, do me a favor, tell your friends about it. You know, invite people to the live streams, have them check it out. I'm going to get on out of here. Y'all take it easy. Stay blessed. I'm out.